The shadow in modern psychology. The shadow in African diasporic religions. African diasporic religions, such as Vodou and Candomblé, emphasize the importance of confronting and honoring the shadow. These traditions view the shadow as a source of power and wisdom, often represented by deities like Eshu, the trickster, in Yoruba tradition. This text explores how these practices can inform modern shadow work, emphasizing the importance of ritual and community. By learning from these traditions, we can develop a deeper understanding of the shadow's role in spiritual transformation. The shadow in African diasporic religions. The shadow in shamanism. Shamanism, found in cultures from Siberia to the Americas, involves journeying into the shadow realms to retrieve lost parts of the soul. For example, the San people of southern Africa use trance dances to connect with the spirit world and heal emotional wounds. This text examines how shamanic practices can deepen our understanding of shadow work, drawing parallels to African and other global traditions. By exploring these techniques, we can develop a more holistic approach to shadow integration. The shadow in shamanism. The shadow in nature-based spirituality. Nature-based spirituality, such as Druidry and African animism, views the shadow as a natural part of the cycle of life and death. For example, the Bantu people of Central Africa believe in the interconnectedness of all life, including the shadow. This text explores how connecting with nature can help us embrace our shadows, integrating lessons from diverse traditions. By engaging with nature, we can gain new insights into the shadow's role in our spiritual journey. The shadow in nature-based spirituality. The shadow in modern spirituality. Modern spirituality often emphasizes positivity, but the shadow cannot be ignored. This text examines how contemporary spiritual movements, such as the New Age and mindfulness practices, are beginning to incorporate shadow work, drawing on ancient wisdom from African, Eastern, and Indigenous traditions. The shadow in modern spirituality. The shadow in relationships. Our shadows often manifest in relationships, revealing unresolved wounds. This text explores how shadow work can heal relational dynamics, referencing practices from African communal living to Eastern philosophies of interconnectedness. The shadow in relationships. The shadow in collective consciousness. The shadow exists not only individually but collectively. This text examines how societal shadows, such as racism and inequality, can be addressed through collective shadow work, drawing on African concepts of communal healing and global spiritual practices. The shadow in collective consciousness. Integrating the shadow for wholeness. The final text explores how integrating the shadow leads to wholeness. We can embrace our shadows and transform them into sources of strength and wisdom, achieving spiritual balance. The shadow in Western esotericism. The role of art in shadow work. Art has always been a medium for exploring the shadow. From African masks used in rituals to the dark, introspective works of Western artists like Frida Kahlo, art allows us to externalize and confront our inner demons. Similarly, in Hinduism, mandalas are used to represent the cosmos and the self, including the shadow. This text explores how creative expression can facilitate shadow work, drawing on examples from diverse cultures. By engaging with art, we can gain new insights into our shadows and begin the process of integration. The role of art in shadow work. The shadow in mythology and folklore. Mythology and folklore are rich with shadow archetypes. In African folklore, the trickster figure, like Anansi the spider, embodies both light and dark traits. Similarly, in Greek mythology, the story of Persephone's descent into the underworld reflects the journey into the shadow. This text examines how myths and stories from around the world can guide us in understanding and integrating our shadows. By exploring these narratives, we can gain a deeper understanding of the shadow's role in our spiritual journey. The shadow in mythology and folklore. The shadow in Abrahamic religions. Even in Abrahamic religions, the shadow is present. In Christianity, the concept of sin and redemption mirrors the process of shadow work. In Islam, the struggle against the nafs, ego, reflects a similar journey. Similarly, in Judaism, the concept of tikkun olam, repairing the world, involves addressing both individual and collective shadows. This text explores how these traditions address the shadow, offering spiritual tools for transformation. By examining these practices, we can better understand the role of the shadow in Abrahamic spirituality. The shadow in Abrahamic religions. The shadow in modern psychology. Modern psychology has expanded on Jung's ideas, integrating shadow work into therapeutic practices. For example, internal family systems, IFS, therapy views the psyche as a collection of subpersonalities, some of which represent the shadow. Similarly, in African psychology, the concept of Sankofa, returning to the past to move forward, reflects the importance of addressing unresolved shadows. This text examines how contemporary approaches align with ancient spiritual practices, offering practical tools for shadow integration. By exploring these techniques, we can develop a more comprehensive approach to shadow work. African dream rituals and practices. The shadow in African cosmology. African cosmology often views the shadow as a necessary balance to light. The Dogon people of Mali, for example, believe in the duality of existence, represented by the Namo, primordial beings. Similarly, the Akan people of Ghana recognize the interplay of Kra, soul, and Sunsum, spirit, which must be balanced for harmony. This text delves into how African spiritual systems embrace the shadow as a natural part of life, offering lessons for modern shadow work. By exploring African cosmology, we can better understand the importance of integrating light and dark in our spiritual journey. The shadow in African cosmology. The shadow in Eastern philosophies. Just as African cosmology embraces duality, Eastern philosophies like Taoism and Hinduism also emphasize balance. The Taoist concept of yin and yang mirrors the interplay of light and shadow, while in Hinduism, the goddess Kali represents the destructive and transformative aspects of the divine. This text explores how Eastern practices can deepen our understanding of shadow work, drawing parallels to African traditions. By examining these philosophies, we can learn to embrace the shadow as a source of growth and transformation. Text 7. The shadow in Eastern philosophies. Next topic, the role of meditation in shadow work. Meditation is a key tool in Eastern spirituality for confronting the shadow. In Buddhism, Vipassana meditation encourages self-observation, while in Hinduism, Kundalini practices awaken dormant energies. Similarly, in African traditions, meditation and trance states are used to connect with the spirit world and address the shadow. This text examines how meditation can help us face our shadows, integrating insights from both Eastern and African practices. By exploring these techniques, we can develop a deeper understanding of the role of meditation in shadow work. The role of meditation in shadow work. Indigenous practices of shadow integration. Indigenous cultures worldwide have long practiced shadow integration. For example, the San people of southern Africa use trance dances to connect with the spirit world and heal emotional wounds. Similarly, the Aboriginal people of Australia use dreamtime stories to explore the shadow and its role in creation. This text explores how Indigenous practices can inform modern shadow work, emphasizing the importance of ritual and community. By learning from these traditions, we can develop a more holistic approach to shadow integration. Indigenous practices of shadow integration. The shadow in Western esotericism. Western esoteric traditions, such as alchemy and Hermeticism, also address the shadow. The alchemical process of nigredo, blackening, symbolizes the dissolution of the ego, while in Hermeticism, the principle of polarity reflects the interplay of light and dark. This text examines how Carl Jung and the collective unconscious. The role of dreams in shadow work. Carl Jung's concept of the collective unconscious suggests that we share universal archetypes and symbols, which appear in myths, religions, and dreams. These archetypes, such as the hero, the trickster, and the shadow, are present in cultures worldwide. For example, the Yoruba people of West Africa believe in Orunmila, the deity of wisdom and divination, who helps individuals understand their destiny through dreams. Similarly, in ancient Greece, dreams were seen as messages from the gods, while in Native American traditions, dreams are considered a bridge to the spirit world. This text examines how dreams serve as a portal to the shadow self, offering insights into our deepest fears, desires, and unresolved traumas. By exploring dream symbolism across cultures, we can better understand the role of dreams in shadow work and spiritual growth. The role of dreams in shadow work. African dream rituals and practices. Dreams have always been a powerful tool for accessing the subconscious and confronting the shadow. In many African cultures, dreams are seen as messages from ancestors or the divine. The Zulu people of southern Africa practice Ukathwasa, a ritual where dreams guide initiates to their spiritual calling. Similarly, the Dagara people of Burkina Faso use dream interpretation to address communal and individual shadows. In other parts of the world, dreams play a similar role. In ancient Mesopotamia, dreams were considered omens, while in Tibetan Buddhism, dream yoga is used to explore the nature of reality. This text explores how African dream rituals and global practices can inform modern shadow work, emphasizing the importance of listening to the subconscious. Introduction to Spirituality and Shadow Work. The origins of shadow work. Spirituality is the universal quest for meaning, connection, and transcendence. It transcends borders, cultures, and time, appearing in countless forms across the world. Shadow work, a term popularized by Carl Jung, is the process of confronting and integrating the hidden, often repressed aspects of ourselves, our shadow. This text introduces the concept of shadow work and its relevance to spirituality, emphasizing that the journey toward enlightenment is not just about embracing light but also about acknowledging and healing the darkness within. In African spirituality, the shadow is often represented through rituals that honor ancestors and unresolved energies. For example, the Yoruba people of Nigeria practice Egbe rituals to address collective and individual shadows. Similarly, in Hinduism, the concept of samskaras, mental impressions, reflects the idea that unresolved experiences shape our behavior. This text explores how shadow work is a universal practice, appearing in various forms across cultures, from the African concept of Ubuntu, I am because we are, to the Buddhist practice of mindfulness. The origins of shadow work. Carl Jung and the collective unconscious. Shadow work, as we know it today, originates from Carl Jung's theories, but its roots can be traced back to ancient practices worldwide. In African spirituality, the shadow is often addressed through rituals that honor ancestors and unresolved energies. For example, the Akan people of Ghana believe in Ntoro, a spiritual force inherited from one's father, which can carry both positive and negative traits. Similarly, in ancient Egyptian mythology, the weighing of the heart ceremony in the afterlife reflects the need to confront one's deeds and integrate the shadow. In Hinduism, the concept of karma emphasizes the consequences of our actions, both seen and unseen, while in Taoism, the interplay of yin and yang represents the balance of light and dark. This text explores how Jung's ideas align with these ancient practices, emphasizing the universality of shadow work and its role in achieving spiritual wholeness.